We've learned what it means, right? So we need to record it for later review, because otherwise we're going to forget it. I'll tell you what, you don't actually have to do this. You could just keep going. And of course, as you encounter these things used repeatedly over and over again, and you will see the expression de veras, que, ustedes, dos, you'll see all of those things used repeatedly over and over again. As you encounter them over and over again, and maybe you have to look them up once or twice after that, you'll remember it and you won't need to notice. I mean, there are people who will say, don't bother noting this stuff down for review on flashcards or anything else. Just look it up, learn it, and go. If it's really important, you'll see it later. You'll see it over and over again, and it'll get it'll really get embedded into your memory. And so the problem sorts itself out. If it's a very, very rarely used word, then yeah, you'll forget it, but it's not really that important anyway. You don't really need to know it anyway, and that's a fair point. That's a fair point. If it really bothers you to have to stop and constantly note something down, then don't do it. You don't have to. I like to. I generally recommend it, generally for most people, but you don't have to. And to note something down, you could have a notebook. You could have some electronic note-taking software like Evernote. You could have paper flashcards, or you could use an electronic flashcard software type of system or program. My personal favorite is Anki, and you can see I've got it pulled up here already. I know some people like Memrise, and I think there's some other systems out there as well, most of which I've reviewed. I'm not too familiar with Memrise, to be fair, but most of the other ones I've reviewed, and I've generally found them to be not as good as Anki, in my opinion. I really like Anki, and that's what I recommend. So in this case, we'll need to create a deck. I generally name it after the title of the show or movie, in this case, Cachito de Cielo. Alright, we'll click OK. There it is. Let's open it up. And we'll click Add because we want to add a new card. Alright? And in this case, we need to know what the word day means. And we look day up, and day means of or from. So we'll put that on the front. I like to put the English on the front because recall is much more difficult than recognition. Alright? So if you've got the English on the front, then you have to recall what the Spanish was. If you can recall something, you can recognize it. Right? If you can just recall something on the spot, then obviously if you see it later, you'll recognize it. Alright, so if you can recall that the way you say of or from is day, then if you see day used later, you'll be able to recognize it. The reverse is not true. Alright, just because you can recognize something doesn't mean that you will be able to recall it on demand. Because recognition is much easier with regards to memory skills than recall is. It's a lot easier to just recognize something you've seen before than it is to recall it with no cue or help whatsoever. Alright, so that's why I put the English on the front. You can switch back and forth, and Anki actually allows you to review the back of the card first, and you can kind of flip them around, but we're not going to mess with that right now. We're going to put the English on the front, on the back day, and I like to put the context that I initially learned it in for an example sentence. You want to have an example sentence, and I like to use the context that I originally learned it in. What you could do is you could put de veras que ustedes dos and then you could leave it like that. You could see what the rest of the sentence is and put the whole sentence in there. What I like to do when I am learning Spanish from some type of visual media, like a video, alright, anything in video form, whether it's a movie, it's a TV show, anything that's on my computer, alright, whether it's something that's streaming online as this is, or a YouTube video, or a DVD that I'm watching on my computer, I like to take a screenshot because it's visual, and people remember visual things a lot better. So if we take a screenshot of this and put it in Anki, which we can, it's really easy to do. I'm going to use the one that comes with OS X. In this case, it's called Grab. If you're using Windows or Linux, I've no doubt there's an equivalent, and you can look that up. It should already be on your computer. You just want to take a screenshot. I want to take a selection here, and I'm just going to outline that, like so. That's all we need. Alright, and save it to the desktop as untitled. That's fine. We can quit Grab. And then we'll just minimize this, and it's already here on the desktop. And all you have to do to add your screenshot to Anki is just drag and drop it in there like so. There we go. There it is. And you can see, it's a little hard to read down there, the subtitles are. But you can still see it. De veras que ustedes dos a something. And that's where we learn day. If you want to, below that, you could type out the example sentence. De veras que ustedes dos a ... Alright? So we've got a screenshot. And this screenshot's really going to help you. When you go to review it, you're going to... Having something visual like that, the context you originally learned it in, and all the things associated with it, the plot line that you'll learn later as you watch the episode, and what happened and who said what and how they reacted, and the facial expressions and the environment they're in, and the noises and all this other stuff going on, that'll all get connected to the word that you learned here. So having this visual representation, the example sentence in visual form here, in form of the screenshot, is really going to help you memorize the word in question. It'll really help you remember it, as opposed to just having this here, just having this example sentence written out for you. Okay, we've used the original context that we learned it in, and we've got a picture of it right there to help us remember it. We can see this one woman approaching the other two. It seems she's upset about something, and we can see the example sentence there on the bottom, and that'll help us remember. So when we go to review this word later, of or from, we'll think, oh yeah, it's from that telenovela with the three women on the sidewalk, and she said, de veras que ustedes dos, whatever it is that she's going to say. That'll really help you learn this. And so we're ready to add the card now, so we click add, and there we go. That's it. Don't need that anymore. And we'll go back to it. And in this case, we would then add veras. And in this case, de veras is an expression that means, so we'll put on the front, how about expression that means really, or what's another way to say that? Really or seriously. Okay, really or seriously. And we're going to put de veras. And in addition to that, we could put that screenshot in there, which I put in the trash. But let's go ahead. We'll put that one in there. Alright, so you can put the screenshot in there, and you can type the example sentence down below it. But I'll tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to demonstrate something else real quick for you that's really, really cool. I'm going to go to Forvo, which is a fantastic resource. And what this is well, I've explained this in my article on resources. You really ought to go read it. Forvo is going to give us recordings of native speakers pronouncing words and phrases for us. And not only can you play them and listen to them here online, but you can download the MP3, and you can add MP3s to Anki. All right, and not only would the word day be in there, if you want to narrow it down a little bit, we go to languages, we go to Spanish here. You see for Spanish, they currently have 63,145 words in the database. So very little is, very few things you might want to look up aren't going to be here. Just about everything is. So let's say you want to know how to pronounce veras in this case. Let's say you want to have a pronunciation of that. Day is pretty simple. I think you can remember DE is pronounced day. But in this case, if we search here, we see that veras is available in 3 different pronunciations in Spanish. Male from Spain, male from Argentina, and male from Mexico. So how about, let's say, the one from Mexico, because I think that's where this telenovela is based.
Veras.
There we go, veras. So we've got pronunciation of him, recording of him saying that. Let's download the MP3 real fast. Let's save it right there. Downloads, that's fine. And so we've got that, and we want to add it to Anki. So what we'll do is just drag and drop. Again, very simple.
Veras.
There we go. It's added to the card. We'll add that. And then here's what's cool. When we go to review it, here's our first one. When we go to review it, here we see an expression that means really or seriously. That's de veras, right? Watch this.
Veras.
See? It pronounces it for us. Veras. So we If we forgot how to pronounce that word, perhaps a beginning learner wouldn't remember it. They would see that and they would say, is it viras or veras or veraz? How do you pronounce that? Maybe they forgot. Well, when you open the card now, it'll pronounce it for you. There you go.